you're streaming. So let me just make sure I can get this going.
Oh yeah, I see it.
You see it?
Yep.
I don't see it.
I use the little bell that's in the top right-hand corner. That always, if you click on it, it always tells you if somebody that you subscribe to is live.
What bell?
It's in the top right-hand corner when you're on YouTube. It's like next to your icon, your profile icon.
Probably not on mine. Home.
Or are you using a Russian browser?
Using an incognito browser.
Oh, you're probably not logged in. I see. Yeah. No.
I am logged in.
Incognito?
What the heck?
I'm posting the link for everybody.
Bell.
All 700 people will log in and listen to this interview. No pressure.
Yeah, right. Oh, there it is. I see it now. Yep.
All 700 people
log in. Yeah.
Oh, way to go.
Amateur move.
Yeah.
I just turned the volume down. Now I can chat. I'm going to be behind everybody now. Our URL is funny today. It's like ibub woo.
Oh, you can actually read it this time? Let's see.
Almost. It's kind of funny looking.
Ibub. Yeah. That's what you should just say. Listen to me live on ibub.
I don't know what
Twitter.
Oh, there we go. Nobody's in the chat yet.
I'm sure they're all waiting for 8:15.
All right. Well, when you hear welcome to the show, let's start there. So let's get things. What do you think? Let's get things rolling here. Okay.
I'm ready.
All right.
Hello, RcadeRadio podcasters. This is your buddy Bob Zarzadek, control panel technician and professional lever. Let me look at my notes here about the show. Let's see. Man, I can barely read what I wrote. Hey, wait a second. You got Lonnie Anderson on this week? Holy mackerel! I love her on WKRP. Man, Lonnie, you are so fine. Hey, Arcade Ratio team, make sure you get her my pager number. You know, give it to Lonnie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'll give it to her.
Page me anytime, Lonnie. Anywho, that's all I got. Zarzadek out.
From KOYR Studios in Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's Arcade Radio. Intruder alert, intruder alert.
Welcome to episode 19 of the Arcade Radio Podcast. Today is Thursday, July 13th, 2017, and the time is now approximately 8:18 p.m. Central. Thanks for joining us in the Arcadosphere. This is your host, Adam Midwest. Dan is on vacation this week, but I'm joined by time machinist / temporal mechanic, Mark Time Runner Shields, and the guest host of the Arcade Radio Podcast this week, Lonnie McDonald, King of Joust. Welcome to the show.
Hey, pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and I have to read it. It's not actually 8:18. It's actually 7:19. We're an hour. So there's some sort of time warp when I was announcing the show there. But what happened to Mark? Mark, are you here?
You know, I hate talking when I'm muted. All my witty banters. I was like, man, he just doesn't miss a beat, even when I'm talking.
So, yeah, Lonnie McDonald.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's totally awesome. We're really glad to have you on the show. Why don't we do a brief introduction of who you are? People kind of know who we are, but, you know, I'm Adam, Matarax on Clav, and we got Mark over here.
Mark, Time Runner 88 on Clav, TimeMachineRental.com, UncleRicosVan.com, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. We've done this intro like a gazillion times, but not Lonnie.
Not Lonnie.
Yep. And is it Lon or Lonnie or both?
It's both. Most of the time, the reason I go by Lon is it's much easier to put Lon on a high scoreboard.
There you go.
Because it takes three letters, and that kind of differentiates between my personal life and my game playing life. So
there you go. So Lonnie McDonald, you have something to do with Joust or something?
Yeah, you know, in '82, I was the first person to play Joust for 24 hours, and we did all the documentation, sent it to Williams, and they declared me the champion of the world for Williams.
Nice.
And I played for, you know, a couple of years, and in the local area where I was at, and then I started businesses up, and I didn't play for almost 27 years, and I started back up because I'd never made the Guinness Book of World Records or set any records, because we didn't really even know about those things, because obviously Al Gore hadn't created the internet back then. So I've gone on this, people call it a Joust tour across the country, and started in 2011. And continues on today. In 2013, I got to 100 machines, played at the Williams Building, and what we've done is to get to 10 million points. It defeats the external counter and just shows all nines, and that's the goal. And currently, I set at 154 machines, having played to 10 million points, and have played in all 50 states at this point.
Very good. So usually what we like to warm up with a little bit is what we've been working on. So Mark, what in the heck have you been working on?
I have been mostly trying to sell my refurbished Miss Pac-Man. I did get a couple cool Mike's Arcade adapters so that I could plug in a 60-in-1 board into the classic Pac-Man hardware without damaging it or changing anything. And I put in 2 of those, one for my wife and one for the machine I'm selling.
Oh.
Works great. It's pretty neat. It even has jumpers so that the start 1 and start 2 buttons are also your fire 1, fire 2 buttons. So if you want to go to the dark side with these Chinese boards, this is the way to do it, I think. And I also have a Stargate I'm selling, and I'm just, you know,
Stargate?
Just coasting along. Stargate?
Yeah, so do you have a Defender and a Stargate, or just...
Well, the Stargate has a J-Rock board, so...
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
Got everything. Plus, I have a redundant Stargate now also. I have one with original hardware, and so that's the Stargate I'm going to keep.
And do you prefer Stargate or Defender?
I don't know. I think Defender's easier. Stargate's pretty hard.
Yeah.
But I don't really have a preference. I mean, I've been trying to play it to get good at it, but it is really hard, and they don't make it easy for you to catch those guys when they fall.
No. You know what? I tell this every time I tell someone about my Defender. I just always say I hated it when I was a kid, and I love having one now that I don't have to pay for to play. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was at the corner store where I played all my games that I grew to love, but it's not one of them. It's definitely just sort of like it came in a package deal. So here we go.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I don't know. What do you think, Lonnie? Are you a Stargate fan?
You know, I had both Stargate and Defender, and I think I would be more a Defender fan.
Yeah. Well, their definitive choice is Defender. You're gonna have to sell both Stargates.
It seems like Defender cabs are rarer now than they all got converted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing, you know, with the J-Rock boards, they run exactly like the old software, which is a plus for arcade players.
Yeah. Do you ever do any of your Joust plays on the J-Rock board?
I own the Joust world record on J-Rock.
Nice.
Sweet. Yeah. So
I think I have 3 records on J-Rock. The marathon, the tournament settings, and then something else. The first life.
Oh,
What?
interesting.
Like there's actually a track on both arcade and on J-Rock. It's the highest score on the first man of any game, whether it's marathon or whether it's tournament settings. On tournament settings, I think it's almost $500,000 on J-Rock. On arcade, 900 and almost 40,000 points on the first man.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, my what I'm working on is not as interesting. I organized the garage last week, then went on vacation to up north and spent a bunch of money on my car, which kind of blew. And one of my tires was bad, so and they were due to be replaced. But I just paid that dang car off, and now the door handle came off the week before, and I had to have that replaced. It was like $300, and then I had.
Hey, when the door handle came off, were you like, "Oh man, I have like such strong hands"?
Yeah, well, we talked about it because I've been working out, so just ripped that thing right off the door, and then
You crushed it.
and then I had to buy 4 new tires, which was they're 18-inch wheels, so not cheap, So I've already had more than 2 car payments in the span of a month when I just paid it off like a month ago. So not cool. But I'm getting the garage ready because I'm getting ready to restore Tron, and I've decided I think I'm gonna sell the games that I have in storage. So I'm thinking I might have to do a trade or sell my Road Blaster's cockpit. And it's got that
storage.
Yeah,
like storage at a public storage type situation, or
yeah. And I got a Atari basketball that needs a little love, and it's black and white, But the cabinet's in decent shape. Board needs work though, It's missing the back door, which is like a tiny little door. It's
always missing the back door,
but it's tiny. It's like a 3x2 door, so it'd be really easy to reproduce. And then and it's black and white, so I don't even know if the monitor works right now. I assume it is gonna work.
So how many games do you have in storage?
I've actually sold a bunch, so I'm down to like 4. I have Moon Patrol, basketball.
That's not bad.
Nah, yeah. It's just that Road Blasters is. Oh, sorry, I have a Star Trek in there too. Star Trek cockpit. That works. Well,
does it?
Allegedly, it was Alan's. I gotta pull it out and restore it. I have all the parts to restore it, but I kind of have a 5-year plan to add onto the house and move the arcade to a extended garage so I can work on it a little easier, especially as I get older. It gets harder to move these things around. So
I know that you have a killer staircase.
I do. Yeah.
It is steep.
Through the garage.
Yeah, it's so nice. And it's narrow and all sorts of fun.
Yeah.
Those are not fun, having to twist the machine and then take them down.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
Well, at least there's no landing. It's not like it's a split level.
Yeah, he's a straight shot.
You need one of those machines. You need one of those machines that climbs the stairs for you.
Yeah, I've looked at those. They're like $3,000.
Yeah,
I need a neighbor to have one.
Yeah. Well, Alan, who sold me the Star Trek, used to work at a company where he could just borrow one, and I was like,
oh wow.
And then he moved to Vegas, jerk. So Lonnie, what have you been working on?
Oh, the last thing I did last weekend, I made a run at the arcade marathon record, which would have taken about 55 hours, and I got 45 hours, which is for a 56-and-a-half-year-old guy, it's a pretty long marathon, probably 87, 90 million points, something like that. But I needed to go 10 more hours.
Oh,
whoa.
That's a long time to play anything. That's a long time to be awake.
Yeah.
At my age, it's a long time to be awake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I took a nap afterwards.
Did you get the paranoia that you have gotten in the past?
In 2013, I've got probably 3 or 4 about that same time length. I've got one at 50 hours. I'm the oldest person ever to play over 50 hours.
Wow.
Actually, the only person over 50 to play over 50 hours on an arcade machine. And about 45, 46 hours, it's like the brain goes into these micro bursts of sleep that you have to try to overcome. And, you know, the last time I played, I kind of fought through it, but this time it was like I literally lost 200 men in an hour.
Wow.
And it was it wasn't paranoia as much as it was a little bit different this time. And I was talking to John Salter about it, who has the longest marathon on any game. And it's like I could remember how to fly and do everything I wanted to do, but I couldn't remember what I was doing. You know, it's like, where do I need to be stationed to kill these guys? I could fly around and do anything I want, you know, like with pinpoint accuracy, but I couldn't remember what I need to do on each screen, which was just totally bizarre. And that kind of sets up this paranoia where you're like going,
am I going
I'm
crazy?
losing my mind. Yeah. And I've talked to some of the old time marathon guys, and they say, yeah, you know, it's like right at, you know, that 2-day kind of mark. If you get past that, and you know, at any time this thing can kind of snap in, and you have to keep your body temperature lower, and you know, because you start to overheat, and your brain starts to want to force you to have some sort of sleep.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll move on to the arcade news. What do you think, Mark?
Let's do it.
All right.
It's the Arcade News with Don Reed.
Oh, well.
That was good. Hey, so I have the first article. It's via Ars Technica.
That thing is horrid. It's horrid. I can't imagine people are using it, but whatever.
What? People love it, Dan. That's Dan. Trent Reznor, he made some music. He actually released a video like 4 or 5 hours ago.
The hell you say?
I do say it. It has features an arcade video game. Here, let me read the headline here. Industrial and synth rock music fans. Is that the kind of people that listen to Nine Inch Nails?
Well, they started out as a synth band in the 80s.
I have to go do some research.
Yeah, the first album is like all synthy. I really like the first album.
So literally today, Nine Inch Nails announced its next EP titled Add Violence, coming in only 8 days, so I guess next Friday. And what's more, fans got a hint of the EP with a catchy single, and to boot, its video includes an out-of-nowhere starring appearance from a video game. And they went pretty indie here. They chose one of the weirdest video games of 2017. The entire video for the song Less Than. I wonder if it's like the less than sign. I have to go look that up. It revolves around a woman playing a customized version of Polybius. And no, it's not the urban legend arcade game that stole souls in Oregon in the 80s. Hey, isn't that what happens in Stranger Things? Instead, it's the 2017 arcade action game released by Jeff Lamasoft, minter of Tempest 2000, TXK, and Space Giraffe fame. I mean, I'm always playing that Space Giraffe. How about you guys? No?
No.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that sounds like a game I would never play.
Space Giraffe.
Huh. You know, this is the first time that I've actually thought this is a piece of news I don't give a crap about, and Dan's not here.
I knew it. I bet you Dan, though, would like it. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's good. It's good, right?
Well, did you watch the video? Because the video is pretty cool. I mean,
and you know what? Come to think of it, I was thinking Trent Reznor, but I was actually thinking Ministry. Ministry was a synth band. I don't know what Trent Reznor did pre 90s.
I have no idea.
You know, if anything, you know, he's probably not even old enough to have a band in the 80s, for all I know. Anyway,
yeah.
PC Magazine reports Mario Kart Arcade is getting a VR upgrade. There's been 3 versions of the arcade up until now, with the last being Mario Kart Arcade GP DX, released in 2013. Now there's a 4th. Only this one is called Mario Kart Arcade GP VR, because we can't have enough acronym words in our title, and adds virtual reality using HTC Vive, like an $800 headset at Amazon. So the addition of the VR means Mario Kart becomes a first-person experience, which is sure to attract the crowds to Japanese arcades. Who wouldn't want to look around the colorful world of Mario Kart or turn their head to see the character that is sitting next to them in another car holding a banana ready to throw it at you. I mean, really, it's a interesting concept.
As long as there's a haptic banana to hit me in the face.
Yeah, little zzz. Anyway, although Mario Kart Arcade JPVR doesn't, that is such a mouthful. Who's going to want to, you're just going to call it Mario Kart, right? You're not going to call it Mario Kart Arcade GPVR. Anyway, it will be heading to the Bandai Namco run VR Zone Shinjuku in Tokyo, which opened up July 14th. As you probably guessed, it's a section of the arcade dedicated to virtual reality game experiences, and Mario Kart will be joining the likes of Dragon Ball, Neon Genesis, and Evangelion, and Ghost in the Shell. So, that's kind of cool. Or maybe not. I don't know. How do you feel about this?
That's the one I don't give a crap about.
You're just mad because I said that. Oh, so, yeah, over to you, Mark.
Do my little thing.
Right now?
There's like my music cue.
There's like a cue up here for me to read something. Am I supposed to?
No, you have to do the music cue, and then I'll do that.
Oh, so we're going to role play after this.
Role play.
Roll the tape. Dang it.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
Back to the Cade with Time Runner.
Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Here's a red letter date in the history of arcade science, July 16th, 1982. Yes, of course.
What? I don't get what happened.
Well, it's July 16th, 1982. I'll tell you what happened.
Okay, all right.
The arcade game Joust, delivered and released by Williams Electronics, celebrates its
Is this your Doc Brown
birthday.
impersonation?
That's right. I'm Doc Brown.
Sorry, go ahead with your headline.
Its 35th birthday this upcoming Sunday. It's 35 years.
Lon.
That's a long time.
Lonnie, that's 35 years of Joust. What do you think about that?
35 years of Joust, even the developers didn't expect it to last that long.
Right. And it's been released on consoles and collections over the years and made Midway and whoever owns Midway. Lots of money.
Owned by Warner Interactive now.
Yeah. Which is weird because they bought, well, a form of Warner bought Atari, right? Back in the day?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it was Warner, wasn't it? Anyway.
Nobody cares about your stock market talk, Adam.
All right, what do you got going?
Well, at the box office, E.T. the Extraterrestrial continued its #1 reign at the box office. Is that redundant? No! Negotiations to produce a video game based on the film concluded around this week in July, giving developers only 5.5 weeks to create the game in time for Christmas selling season. Personally, I never owned it. I thought it looked terrible. How about you guys? Did you play E.T. on your 2600?
So I actually didn't play E.T. on my own 2600 as a kid because I didn't have one, but my neighbors had it and they had that game, and I remember playing it and being very frustrated.
Oh, was your neighbor pretty?
No. No. I'm not even going to go there because it would just devolve into a 10-year-old boy conversation, and we were, no.
Okay, Lonnie, E.T., can you think back that far?
Yeah, I could think back that far, but literally, guys, I stopped playing arcade games in 1984 and didn't pick them up till 2011, except for Black Tiger in the around 87 or 88. So there's a whole span of video games that completely are lost to my arcade skills.
Dave from Buffalo says he remembers playing E.T. and it was very hard. The game was hard. So, yeah.
I see.
You see. Thanks, Doc.
This week also marks the 35th anniversary of the original Tron film.
Oh, you don't
Tron!
Tron is a great game and film.
Yes. Made by Bally Midway. Came out earlier this month, 35 years ago.
What else came out?
Donkey Kong came out the year before it's turning 36. Whatever, who cares?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What was on TV? Repeats. Nothing but repeats.
Was it the off season? So we're talking summer season.
It was the off season. I heard that your guest host Mark would ride around his bike and play Simon and Simon.
Oh my. Yeah.
I'm not sure what that involves though.
Solving
mysteries? Or?
So you were role playing as Simon, or which one? AJ or
I was
Rick?
Simon. I was always.
You were always Simon.
I was Simon. My friend and I, John, he would be like, "I'm Simon." I'm like, "No, I'm Simon."
Lonnie, do you remember Simon and Simon?
I do. I do remember Simon and Simon.
I actually think it's one of the better shows that was on in the 80s.
It's a classic. Where's the movie?
Yeah.
They actually did make a movie for TV.
What?
Yeah. And only Gerald McRaney did anything after that show.
Right.
I don't know what happened to the other guy.
Oh,
He went on the club circuit.
no, I actually know this because he wrote a book. But he
wrote a book about why he didn't do anything else the rest of his life.
Yeah. Yep. He
was an animal.
Would you cut that out? So
Randall said that. Sorry.
If you want to know, because Lonnie asked, I'm just going to say briefly that he married his one of his co-stars, and they were assaulted in Hollywood. And he was shot like 3 or 4 times. And,
wow.
Yeah. And so now he's a rancher, and he just lives on a ranch and with his wife, and doesn't have any desire to act.
Oh, because of being shot.
Yeah, because of being shot. True story.
They shot the acting out of it.
They shot the acting out of him.
I hate it when that happens.
I got to tell you, your Doc impression is not that great.
Hey, don't give me a hard time.
It's the first time he's done this.
Doc Brown, Eddie. Did I say that? No.
No. Okay. Who are you then?
I'm like his cousin.
I guess AJ did Major Dad for a brief time after that.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
Actually, Randy Gelking
married one of the girls from Designing Stars.
Yep. So.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Let's talk about the top 5 songs in the U.S. on July 16th, 1982.
Jameson Parker was his name. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Are you done? All right.
No.
Number 5, Let It Whip by the Daz Band.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a good song.
Little known fact, this song was not a sequel to Devo's Whip It.
I love this song. Let it whip. Yeah. All right. What's next?
All right, it's one of those songs you're like, I wonder what the next song's going to be. Number 4, Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam.
Little Rocky stuff going on.
Yeah.
Right.
It was used in both Rocky 3 and 4.
And 4. Sylvester Stallone provided advice on the people writing the song, and he said the third set of lyrics, they repeat the first set. Write new lyrics.
You're gonna hate this when you listen to it again.
It sounds not bad, does it?
Go ahead.
Have we moved on? We've moved on. John Cougar Mellencamp. That's so good.
Now, how many times did he change his name?
Oh, well, he started out as John Cougar, and actually on this album, American Fool, he was John Cougar. Because the studio said your name is too weird, nobody's gonna like it. So.
Nobody likes melon.
That's right. What's a melon camp? Is that where you? Is that where
camp where you learn how to cut melons.
And then he added it. It was John Cougar Mellencamp, and then finally he dropped the Cougar and was just John Mellencamp.
Okay, my trivia about this is what movie features the lines, "If you ever get the chance, shower with them"? I did. It's a mind scramble. It hurts so good.
Oh, that sounds really familiar.
Weird Science.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. But
I love science.
If you did it in her accent, I might have got it. Kelly LeBrock.
I would never do it in her accent. Next, Rosanna by Toto. Toto, like the dog.
Yep. Dave from Buffalo got the Weird Science reference.
Good one, Dave.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
We're just gonna listen.
It's about Rosanna Dana.
I don't think it is. Maybe we should have Bob Zarzadek do this segment next time. I'd love it.
I don't know who that is.
And then,
hey, you know what? What famous actress is Rosanna? Do you know? She was purportedly the reason that they made this song.
I don't know.
It was Rosanna Arquette.
Oh, I did not know that.
The keyboard player, apparently the only attractive one in the bunch.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Next, I know you were jumping ahead.
Sorry.
Don't You Want Me by the Human League.
Yeah. There you go. A little Human League.
Spoiler, only the cocktail bar parts are true.
The what now?
Listen closely.
I can't.
The song's starting soon.
I've already played like 18 seconds of it.
There, see? There. All right, I think that's it.
So, did that just bring a flood of memories back to you, Lonnie? All that great music?
Lonnie, did you used to rock out to this stuff?
Yeah, I was 21. I was out and about doing things to those songs.
Nice.
Nice.
And disco was just dying. That's all I can say.
Thank God.
Thank God. I really like disco, but that's well, Let It Whip by the Daz Band. That's disco.
First the stock market and now disco. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaving. Hey, Mark, you can have this mic. Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. See you, Doc.
Who is
the
it?
door hit you, Mark. Okay.
Was that Doc Black?
I didn't catch his name. Who was that guy?
Was he a doctor? Oh, it's Dr. Brown, not Doc Brown. Okay.
I don't know. He was wearing white, so that's all I know.
I see.
Polyester.
Can't touch it.
Oof, someone's got a puppy.
Yeah, it actually is a puppy. It's just 6 months old this week. She's supervising, and she's like going, "Why are you not playing with me?"
Oh. Well,
is it?
What's that? Is it time to
Is there
talk
voicemails?
What? I don't know if there are any voicemails. Should I check?
I don't know.
Let me look at the voicemail thingy. It's under Google Voice, right?
Yeah, we're riffing it now.
We're riffing what?
I don't think we've looked at these voicemails.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. So why isn't there a link to Google Voice in the drop down for all your apps?
Can't you just type voice.google.com?
That's what I'm typing.
Sorry.
Sorry,
you have to type that.
Yeah, we have a couple of listener calls, it looks like.
Okay.
Holy moly. There's like 4 calls. I haven't played these. Yeah. Voicemails. Oh, there's 2 voicemails that haven't been heard. Oh. One's short. So play it back.
Hello, Arcade Radio dudes. I have a question about shorter people playing arcade games. Would it be possible to cut the bottom off the game so I can reach the controls? Thanks. Asking for a friend.
What the heck?
That sounds like a Macintosh. Oh my gosh.
It sounds like a 10-year-old.
You could cut the actually, I know that the bottoms have been cut off of games. Usually they put them back on.
Uh-huh.
you know, when you're trying to restore it or get rid of that rot or the wet or whatever. But I suppose you could cut the bottom off of a game and play it. There's not much down there.
Yeah. You'd have to have some sort of shelf for the boards.
Sure. But, well, it depends on where it was mounted, right? If it was like the Atari games are mounted pretty high on the wall, so you could almost, well, you have to move the power brick, right?
Yep.
But
it's pretty freaky.
Yeah. Let's play the next one. Okay. Here we go.
Lonnie McDonald is the man. There, I said it. I'd just like to say, two can play at once. Move your mount left or right with your joystick. To fly, repeatedly press flap. Topple buzzard riders and other player for points. Highest lance wins. Grab enemy eggs before they hatch into more aggressive foes. Team waivers for two-player games only. A bonus of 3,000 for not toppling another player will be awarded. You will receive an extra amount every 20,000 points.
That is awesome.
It sounded like Boris Karloff.
That
is really awesome. I like that.
Those are the instructions on the
like
the
somebody
bezel
like some
Joust.
AI read it.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, I guess we can't answer that question. The answer is yes.
Really question. It's more like a
yes, those are the instructions. Oh, all right, okay.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test.
Yes! Lon McDonald! The Joust Champion of the world. Welcome to the show again.
Thanks for entertaining me.
Well, yeah, you know, we're looking to be entertained by you. The rest of the show is about you.
It's all you now. You're going to have to carry the show for the next 4 hours.
The weight of the world is upon my shoulders. I could turn it over to my puppy. She's more entertaining than I am.
I don't know about that, but I do like puppies. So give us a little bit of your background and where you grew up and what drew you to arcades and Joust.
Hey, so where I grew up, I'm actually from the world-famous small town in Iowa called Winterset. You guys heard of it?
What is that?
Winterset, Iowa.
Winterset?
Now, if you're trivia fans, then you should know this stuff. It is the birthplace of John Wayne. Also, where the bridges of Madison County.
Oh.
And yeah, so I grew up there. That's I had two brothers, and you could, in a town that small, it was like 2,500 people when I was a kid. You could be on one side of town and get in trouble because your parents knew everybody. Because my dad had 13 brothers and sisters. By the time you got home, you got in trouble again. So I mean, it was just it was horrible as a kid, but great for your parents because they knew everything that was going on. Grew up playing pool and pinball.
Pool.
And
you know that starts with P.
Pool player playing snooker and billiards and 9-ball with lots of trophies. Pinball, always enjoyed pinball, and then arcade. Then video games came out while I was in high school.
Oh yeah. P, that's pool. That starts with P and that rhymes with T and that stands for trouble.
Trouble.
Right here in River City.
I think that's off of I-35. Right. I remember passing signs that talk about the Madison County bridges.
That's weird.
Yep. Yeah, if you go down 35, it'll say Bridges of Madison County, and then John Wayne's birthplace, they actually have a big museum for it now.
Okay.
So it's a cool place. Yeah.
And it's the birthplace of Lonnie?
Yeah, no, actually, I was born in Greenfield, which is about 24 miles from there. But I grew up in Winterset.
Awesome. So, which was the first arcade you ever played?
First arcade I ever played, Asteroids, I think.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
Asteroids. Space Invaders was not the first arcade game I played because the pool hall where I played pool and pinball, Asteroids was the first one that was in there.
Okay.
Of course, I played foosball too. So everything I grew up playing had to do with angles and physics and and which is one of the reasons I gravitated to Joust and many other Williams games, which were angles and physics.
And so when you first played Joust, what made you come back to it?
Well, Joust was incredibly difficult, as were most Williams games, but my mind almost instantaneously calculated the angles and where things were, where they were going to be, and as the developers would tell you, Williams wanted you to put a quarter in every 2.5 minutes or so. So it was just a tough game, and it had 2 players.
Yeah.
And my roommate and I liked to play it together, and he would give up after about 1,000,000 points. He'd get tired, and then I would keep playing.
So you're both kind of good at it.
Yeah, he was good. He was a district manager for an arcade system, and so it didn't cost us anything to play.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What arcade was that, Cade?
No, it was out in Nevada. They don't exist anymore. I keep wanting to say that they named them Stargate because they had all the new Williams games, but it just doesn't quite seem right. And I've tried to track down what the name of them was, and haven't been successful at that. Even going as far as having driven through the city and talking where it was at, and talking to people, say, okay, what was the arcade's name that was sitting right here next to this place? And there used to be a Straw Hat Pizza next to it. And they're like, nobody remembers.
What year was that? 1980? Was that 82?
1982. Yeah. We got. He got all the new releases, so we keep thinking it's like June, July, something like that. Early '82 machines, and I played for 24 hours on a bet, and I can't lose a bet. That's horrible stuff for me, at least from my mindset. So I played for 24 hours. We documented all that stuff as you used to in the '80s, in the early '80s. You didn't have ways except take a Polaroid and then a piece of paper, and people would log in what time they saw you play and what your score was.
Sure.
And then they'd take a Polaroid, and so we had all these Polaroids that we then made copies of, not like photocopies because you can't make a copy. It's like take a Polaroid of the Polaroid kind of nonsense. So it was much more in depth, and we didn't know about Twin Galaxies. Because things were much smaller and confined, and there was no internet by Al Gore, and you just had to send all that stuff to Williams. So we sent it to Williams. Williams sends me a shirt and a letter back, and she says, "Nobody's ever played 24 hours. You're the champion of the world as far as we're concerned." And so that was really kind of one of those monumental things that happened.
Cool. So originally, I think you were going for 100 machines across the nation, and that changed. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, in 2011, I started the tour, which we called the Joust Tour.
Well, we should back up a second. Just first of all, explain what the tour means, and then go on with that. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Explain what?
So tell us what the tour entails. Like, what was it that you were trying to do?
Yeah, right. So,
yeah.
The goal was to play each Joust machine to 10 million points, which is the defeat of the external counter, which at that point on the scoreboard, it will only show all 9s, as many old arcade machines would do. And at that point, 2011, I had actually picked up I was going through my midlife kind of thing, and I picked up an article here in Kansas City about Steve Sanders and his son playing Joust and setting the term of settings doubles record. And I said, well, I wonder how good my score was. And I actually called Steve Sanders up, and he and I decided to play for the marathon doubles setting. But in the process of traveling around the country, it became this Joust tour, and I was trying to get to all the machines that Cade had on their list, which at that point in 2011 was 37 or 38 of them.
Okay.
And I used to travel and teach cleaning and restoration, and I served on nonprofit boards. And so I would say, I'm going to be in that town so I can play those machines. And, not all the machines were in incredibly good working order. And so I found myself having to get good at making them in a little bit better working order so you could play some of them. But, it was an interesting trip, and it kind of evolved into, what is your stopping point? What is the grand scheme of this? And people would say, hey, I have a Joust machine on Club or someplace, or people would email or call me and say, you can come and play mine, or there's like 3 or 4 here that you haven't played. And it evolved to a point where we thought 100 machines was attainable in the 2 years that I was playing. So I actually averaged playing one machine a week for 100 weeks,
wow,
which is 1 billion points. And the last machine in that 100 machines that I played was at the Williams Building, and I had Python Angelo, the artist who has since passed away,
yeah,
John Newcomer, the guy who developed it, there, and also the programmer there, and Roger Sharp was the MC, and Walter Day from Twin Galaxies was there, and so it was a pretty cool event. But I actually got to play 100 machines to 10 million points, and then I took a year off and went for a pinball world ranking, which was another interesting task. I got to the top 1% in the world, which is like 271 at that point would put you in the top 1% in the world.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I was like, okay, I missed Joust, so I went back to playing Joust. So now we're at 154 machines played to 10 million points.
154 machines. And my my machine was number 84.
Yep, February 2013, when I was pressing really, really hard to get to the 100th machine. And I don't know, do you have a red T-shirt?
I sure do. Yep.
T-shirt.
I have a red T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's signed, and
yeah,
I think I have one of your original Walter Day cards as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first card that I was on was number 127, which was the one where Steve Sanderson and I set the doubles marathon record, which is also a Guinness record.
Very cool. And
so that was cool.
Was this a Guinness motivated tour? Like, were you looking to put this in the Guinness Book of World Records, like I did 100 machines? And
well, we attempted to put that in. It wasn't the motivation to start with.
Yeah.
But after after it evolved into that, we tried to put it in Guinness, and Guinness says, we don't usually take records that are that long. So the Guinness actually denied it, even though we had all the support for it, because they said it was too long of a record.
Interesting.
I was like going, okay. But there are other record keeping entities like Record Setter and other things out there. So it is a Record Setter record.
Cool.
So that it's saved for posterity.
And GA Gamer says that he saw you do this at SFGE in 2016. So I don't know what SFGE is.
What is that?
Southern Fried Gaming Expo.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably in 140 or so, and did that live in front of I don't know. There were probably 100 people or so watching when it rolled over.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a nice group, nice event that they put on there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Got to hang out with Lance Guest from the first, the last Starfighter. Nice, cool guy.
Oh, cool!
Oh, what?
That is so awesome.
Yeah. Lance was the speaker that I was on the speaker list, and he was on the speaker list. So I got to hang out and chat with Lance some.
That's funny. You guys probably remember he was also Superman. He played Clark Kent in the original 1978 Superman. He was young Clark Kent I
did not know that.
Before he grew into Christopher Reeve.
Now my life is complete.
They actually put a prosthetic on his face to make his yeah, right. And they put a prosthetic on his face to make him look more like Christopher Reeve, so his nose is actually altered for the role.
It's interesting when you meet somebody like that, and then you look back on what they've done. You go, oh, I've seen that. And I remember that. But it was a nice time chatting with him.
Cool.
And I think he thought I was insane playing that many Jousts for as long as I have.
Yeah. So all you YouTubers, go check out the pictures of Lance Guest as young Clark Kent in Superman 1978, and you'll see him looking a little weird with his crazy nose. But also his eyes changed color because they're green because Lance's eyes are green, and then I believe Christopher Reeve's are blue. So anyway, little details. I'm a huge Superman fan. Anyhow.
I have a copy of the 1983 ABC airing of that on VHS tape.
Oh, the extended one.
That's right. It's so extended.
Yeah. He walks through fire and gets frozen and all kinds of stuff. That's great.
There's more fun stuff like, well, I can't talk about it now, but we're focusing on Lonnie.
That's all right. I'm not that interesting. I love trivia though. One of the reasons I'm also involved in the U.S. National Video Game Team. I don't know. Did you guys know I'm an inductee into the International Video Game Hall of Fame and on the U.S. National Video Game Team?
I did not. I knew the second one because you recently went for your record that you were talking about a little bit ago. And but the first one I did not know. So you're an inductee, I see.
Yeah, the International Video Game Hall of Fame, class of 2016, and when you look at the people that are inducted, it's kind of humbling to think of all the arcade players and the arcade games that are already inducted into Hall of Fame. That a small town guy like me who just has some joust skills would be inducted. But when I set out to do my record, many times people say, "Well, why don't you go for this record or that record?" And I told a friend of mine, I said, you need to cut your own path and do something original. And that's kind of what I saw Joust Tours doing, which was all of us would have liked to have been somebody who could have traveled the country and played the machine that they liked. And I just set out to do it because I had the time and the resources to do it. So it was one of those compelling things that the more I did, the more I needed to do it. And I'm not going to say I'm obsessive compulsive, even though I probably am.
I'm obsessive compulsive, so I'm like, I can relate. Hey, speaking of, and I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but do you still carry around a cooler filled with snacks when you settle in to play a game?
Not as much as I used to. I've got it down to a fine kind of. Well, let's see. When I started out, I wasn't sure what it was going to take. How long is this going to take? And the first one was brutal. I mean, brutal. Like 6 hours. And I got it down to a point where I could play comfortably 4.5 hours, 4 hours and 15 minutes, and 3 or 4 of them I did less than 4 hours, which is incredibly fast. But it's either a 4-sucker or a 5-sucker game and a bottle of water at this point.
Wow.
I'm serious. 4 suckers, 5 suckers, that's what I'll come in with. But I'll bring 6 in, but it's usually, I'll just put them in a coat pocket and I'll lay them, on a table or where I'm next to, and that's about it, and a bottle of water. And people say, "Do you want something to eat or something?" I said, "No, I'm just going to sit here and play." And they go, "How do you play for?" One of my fun ones is when I was playing at the Williams headquarters. The guys asked me, because afterwards you've got all the Williams employees there, and they said, "Well, how do you play that long?" And I always used to tell people, I said, "Now, are you Star Trek fans?" And they go, "Oh yeah," because most people are, unless they're a Star Wars fan, and and that's okay too. But what I do is I simply change the space-time continuum in my mind. And they go, "Oh, that makes complete sense." It's like, but that's really what I do. Is I don't think about how long it is, and when I start thinking about numbers, rather than saying I'm at 10, I'll go, I'm like at 0.1 or something like that. So my mind is constantly focused on a lower number rather than a number that's kind of looking at defeating it, like 9. Oh, it's 9. Oh, where am I going? So it's always focusing on something smaller. So it's breaking it down into smaller things. But that was an interesting one. Change the space-time continuum. And guys were going, "Yeah, that makes complete sense." I was like,
I believe you.
Our YouTubers are chiming in now with their fandom choices here. Star Wars fan, Star Wars. So there's actually a call here that I'd like to play for you. It was just came in, and it's regarding the marathoning. So it's right on par here. So I'll just play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here we go.
Hi, great show as per usual. I have a pragmatic question regarding doing a marathon session, like 24-hour, game. How do you go to the bathroom? Do you just not? Do you not drink anything? And physically, like, how do you stand that long, or share a little bit about that, because I would love to hear. Thanks. Great show. Bye.
So that's one of our listeners, and she. Maybe you could expand on what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I don't really consider 24 hours a long time. I have a little bit of insomnia, so staying up a long time doesn't really affect me that much. But your mind and your body, a whole other thing. And you don't have to stand up to play a game. You can sit down. There's no rules that say you must stand. I know there are signs that say real gamers must stand, but those are only gamers that are going to play maybe an hour or two, not 24 hours. You do need to get up and move a little bit, otherwise, the blood kind of and the muscles kind of want to stick in place, and the older you get, the tougher it is for you to stay in one place for a long time. But the last marathon I did last weekend, I literally played to 60 million points, which was 30 hours before I took a break, before I took a bathroom break. And you don't want to drink a lot, and you just want to, eat protein. So maybe a little bit of carbs, but you're not going to eat full meals and do things like that, because then you'll have to go to the bathroom. And when you go to, when you take a restroom break, you literally die every 7 to 10 seconds. In a game like Joust, the most men you can ever have is 255 plus the one that you're playing, so 256. Memory, guys, 256. And you figure, let's say I went to the bathroom for 5 minutes, how many men did I lose? Quite a few.
Yeah.
And it's not like Armor Attack or Cuba where you get, 1,000 guys and build up time to sleep. Those guys who have set these 80-plus hour records literally have been able to sleep for an hour and then come back and play. And, did I answer all the questions? I think physically, you have to be in pretty good physical condition. And I'm relatively, for an old guy, in pretty good physical condition and pretty good mental condition. And it's really a physical and mental kind of thing, a toughness and knowing how to play the game normally.
Yeah, I think you covered them. The one, the unique thing is a lot of games, you couldn't amass enough extra guys to marathon, and there's a difference between marathoning type games and arcade games like Donkey Kong, where you're given 3 guys plus 1 extra, and that's it. So and you play to the end.
Tournament settings, that would be like tournament settings on Joust, where you get 5 men and that's all you get, and you have to get the best score you can. Marathon, and they're different games will only allow you to get so many men,
right.
and it becomes very, very difficult to marathon those games by getting up and doing anything and not without your 100% concentration on the game.
And
but that in itself, 100% concentration on the game creates its own problems, visually, and your mind wants to shut down after a certain period of time. It's telling you need to rest.
I think when you were visiting my Site 84, you played for about 4.5 hours. It was a pretty quick flip of the screen. It was we got to 10 million pretty quick. So, but the interesting thing that kind of I thought was interesting is at the end of the game when you were waiting to write your name.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait for all those guys to die.
Yeah, usually Christian Gringras, coined the term saturated, which means you have all the guys that you can get, which is 255 plus the one you're playing. Now, you could win more than that, but it won't give you any more than that. So let's say I won 300 guys. Arguably at some point I could have had 300 or 400 guys there, but it only gave me 255. Well, you have to kill all those guys off before you can put your name in, and that's usually, at least 10-minute process. And what I commonly do is take a sweater and hang it over the joystick and pull it off to the side and let all the men run off. I go to the bathroom, wash my face, come back, and they're still running off.
Yeah. We waited a long time. We might have waited like 15 minutes.
Yeah. I think I had over 200 guys when we played yours.
Yeah. And I had just restored that control panel and rebuilt it. I remember you came over. And typically, what Lonnie likes to do is crack open the machine, make sure everything's cool, you know, because a lot of times these machines are just dilapidated and nothing works right. One of the things I've always prided myself on is putting, you know, is when I restore these things, or at least the control panel so I can play them again, is making sure they work the way they're supposed to. So I ended up saying, hey, why don't you just try one and drop this token in and give it a shot. And we did. It was all really informal. So like, I give you the token, you drop it in, and then you're having a good game. So you're like, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah. Well, you know, I started the game up, and the machine was playing really tight and really sharp, and I said, "There's no need to start another game. I'll just play this one." So that's always good. You know, and it was in great condition, which, you know, I've played everything from, you know, in restaurants and full-blown arcades, to people's homes, to garages where it's raining on my back, and machines that I wouldn't play until I disinfected them, and controls the same. I mean, I played machines that probably shouldn't even have flown. I mean, literally, I was trying to figure out how they were flapping when I opened them up. So it's good to have them in good shape. You can tell if someone's taking care of their machine.
Yeah.
You know, you walk into some of the facilities and you go, their motive to have the machine there is not to have the machine there because they love machines. It's because their business plan says they should have machines there.
Right.
What's your preference on the machine ROM set, red or green?
Green is what all the default tournament stuff is on.
Can we talk about what the difference is? Because I actually don't know.
The only major difference is the pterodactyl cheat, which I don't know, is it level 7 or 8 or something like that. You can catch one of the gray guys in the fire, stand on the middle wave, and it'll just throw pterodactyl after pterodactyl after pterodactyl at you.
And which ROM
that's the only major. That's red.
Red. Okay.
And that pterodactyl.
And that's a cheat. That's, you know, getting points like that's a cheat. And there were massive scores that were being amassed in the 80s, and that's the reason I went back in for revision.
So, how did you learn that pterodactyl trick anyway?
I never did. I never played it. Somebody showed it to me years later.
Oh, but wait a second though. So the pterodactyl trick? Well, there's that one, and then there's the standard in-game one where the pterodactyl comes. How do you stop the pterodactyl from killing
pterodactyl? Its mouth. You have to hit it directly in its mouth. And it's 8 pixels open, 4 pixels closed, I believe. So you have to hit it right in the mouth.
Okay.
Or it's 2 or 4. It's like divided in half. I think I've got it on our site someplace what the pixel is. But, you know, you can kill it on the middle. There are pterodactyl waves. There's one on the bottom and there's one in the middle, 3s and 8s. And in the middle, you have to stand to the right of the middle of the platform and kill them.
Yeah, okay.
It'll come up directly on the level of the of your lance.
As long as you're standing, if you're standing stationary on the platform. So was that an accident when you figured that out, or did you how did you figure out how to do that?
No, I would assume it's an accident in the 80s.
And then you're like,
and of course. Now people, it's you can go and learn how to play any game much quicker than what we did, because
YouTube.
We didn't share our secrets. We didn't share our secrets with anybody. Like, you know, I was talking to Steve Sanders, and we had this whole group of people, and we would share how to do these things. And I said, Steve, we'd have broken your arm if you were trying to steal our secrets. we didn't share secrets. You know,
Steve published his secret.
Hey, go away! Don't learn how I play this.
It's not for free.
Not for free. Well, now it's all on YouTube, and you can, you know, if you wanted to learn how to play a game, you can watch the best in the world play the games. Like, I threw almost 90 million up over the weekend. It's all on Twitch.
Yeah.
It's all recorded on Twitch.
Well, and Steve Sanders, we know that he shared his secrets because he shared the secrets of winning at Donkey Kong in a book.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
I'd love to have Steve on the show, actually. It'd be fun.
Steve's a nice guy.
Cool.
He lives right here in Kansas City, too.
Oh, really?
I'm in Kansas City. I'm in the south part of Kansas City. He's in the north part of Kansas City.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'll have to get a hold of him. I think it'd be fun to have him on the show.
He was just over at my house last weekend when I played the marathon.
Oh, cool. Cool. So do you guys ever like hang out with Billy, or is that just sort of when the opportunity arrives and you're all at the same event?
Yeah, when we're all at the same event.
Sure.
You know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were all at the same event in Wichita. So there was Walter and Billy and Ben Gold and Joel West and Steve Sanders and myself and you know, good, and Jerry Buckner was there and his wife, and so there was
Jerry Buckner was.
People came. That was at the dinner before, and Walter awarded me a Twin Galaxies trading card for having played Joust to 10 million points in all 50 states.
Oh, that's great.
And he did part of the presentation, and Billy did the other part. So that was kind of humbling when your peers will honor you in such a way.
Cool.
That's awesome. Hey, I was doing some research, and I heard that you believe in the phrase "flying is dying."
That's absolutely true. People always ask me, say, now I'm at this point, how do I get better? And I say, flying is dying. Stop flying so much. I go, Joust is a physics game, and you cannot outfly. Let's say you're trying to get to 1 million points. You've got Shadow Lords flying all over the place. There are 10 things on every wave, whether it's the Shadow Lords or whether it's the pterodactyls. And these things are bouncing off themselves and off ledges, and you can't project that. So what you try to do is use the physics against them and make them come down to you, because they will come down in the same patterns all the time. Maybe a little faster, maybe a little slower, but they will come down to you. And that's a much easier thing to project than trying to project 10 things bouncing off of themselves and everything around them.
Because it's get frenetic once the higher levels and things are just bouncing around all over the place.
Oh, yeah. People like to fly up at the top. Now, if I get bored, and I got a lot of men, I'm doing a marathon, I'll fly up at the top just to entertain myself. When Sanders and I set the marathon doubles record, he played player one, and he played at the top left when you come out of the materialization and kind of paths there, and was letting things stream up to him directly. And I was playing the opposite side on the right, playing player two, and we were scoring at almost 3 million points an hour. We ended up playing 15 hours, and we had 40 million, 120, 150 in points, and we played the top almost all the time.
Okay.
Except when one of us started dying a lot. Then we come down and we play at the bottom and build the men back up and go to the top. So it takes two good players to play the top like that, because you have to have each other's backs if one gets by.
Okay.
Hey, so well, hold on a minute. I'm confused. How many Joust records do you currently hold? It sounds like there's multiple levels.
Well, sure. There's the doubles marathon record. Okay. There's the which I own with Steve Sanders. There's Twin Galaxies. There are different entities that you can have records with. There's Guinness.
Okay.
There's Twin Galaxies. There's Record Setter, and there's Cade. And I have over 20 Joust-related records with the 4 organizations.
Do you have any like Nintendo Joust records?
No. What I do have now, though, because I only have so much space in my arcade at my house, is I bought an X-Arcade, and I haven't gone after these yet because I had a couple other things I was going for first. Is we put now X-Arcade runs MAME.
Sure.
But we put PlayStation, 2 versions of PlayStation, GameCube, and Xbox in this, and put them in with switchers. So all those versions of Joust that are on those ROMs can be played on that system. So those will be ones that I'll go after at some point.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there are so many. Like, and I even have before I started collecting arcade games, I would get the console versions. So Nintendo Entertainment System, and then when the PlayStation came out, they released the Anniversary Collection, and then you'd have Joust emulated on that. Actually, the PlayStation 1 collection, the Joust is very faithful. It's running some sort of, it's running the arcade ROM, but it's ROMs, but it's emulated. And then PS2, they re-released them again, and then Dreamcast and all these different versions. But the worst one I ever played was on the Game Boy Advance. They had a version, and it was like a 3-pack of games, and Joust was in it, and it's really, really bad. Like the hitboxes are huge, and the I don't know if they rewrote it for it, but it does not play well on the GBA. So
that's horrible.
Yeah,
that kind of disrespects the game. The cool thing is these things, the graphics are as the ages have gone by, have become so much better to play them on.
Yeah, and now you can do on a tiny little RetroPie, you can or Raspberry Pi, you can load RetroPie and any ROM, and it plays pretty faithfully. It's because you run a MAME, so it's just cool.
Yeah, I have the MAME Marathon World Record on Joust also.
Oh, cool. Oh, and there was an Atari version too, wasn't there? An Atari Joust, Atari 2600.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
2600. Yeah, it's on. They have a version on almost every version of Atari. But as I said, I stopped playing basically '84. I stopped playing arcade games altogether and started up my companies in Kansas City. And I'm like, the only game I played from '84 till 2011, unless I happened to buy an arcade, was Black Tiger, and it was the first game I played that actually had an end. It was like it stopped. And I happened to be playing it, and I'm like going, because it was at a Pizza Hut, and I would play it whenever I was in eating. And then I had a day that kind of canceled out, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to see how far I can get this thing. And I played it all the way through, and it says the end. And I was like, the end? The end? I go, what the heck is this? I said, do you guys know this thing ends? I go, I don't think I got my quarter's worth, but I actually have one. I've got numerous games in my collection, and that was one that I have. So I figured that was kind of cool. Now I'm not back up to the end with it again, but I'm pretty close to getting it to the end again. Well, I used to play it all the way through on one quarter, one man, and that's kind of tough to play it all the way through. And the record on it is about 1 million more points than what I used to score back in the late 80s on that particular game. And talking to Scott Patterson, he said that they think that there was another version of it that gave you 1 million points when you killed the final boss. And this is obviously not that version, the one that I played.
I think on the Arcade's Greatest Hits that they released for the PlayStation had some extra videos on it with like game developers. I seem to remember Eugene Jarvis and a very pixelated Joust developer talking about their games and how they developed all these games. And
yeah.
And
what's interesting now, they have Killer Queen, which is basically 10-player Joust, advanced, and rumor had it that Eugene Jarvis hated Joust. And now look into whose company produces that in the United States.
Is it his
Eugene
company?
Jarvis's company produces Killer Queen.
I did not know that.
So I told John Newcomer, the developer of Joust, that. He goes, that's so right.
And Newcomer did Joust 2 also, right? They asked him to make a sequel.
That is correct. He did Joust 2 also, and I have the Joust 2 prototype in my collection.
Oh, what?
Nice.
And how do you know it's the original Joust 2 prototype? I bought it from Mr. Newcomer, and it's signed by Mr. Newcomer.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. What do you think of Joust 2?
Well, I'm not going to dog Joust 2. I'm just going to say, if you're a Joust player, Joust 2 becomes confusing. If you've never played Joust, then Joust 2 is a great game.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm kind of the purist of, here's Joust is doing these things. It's simple. Now, that was interesting. We just had a raccoon walk in front of my door.
Nice.
Our house backs up to the Federal Reserve, and when I let the dog out just a little bit ago, I had a doe and her two babies running across our backyard, and now I just have a raccoon walk across our back door here. So we're having a little fun here as we're talking, I guess.
My favorite soundbite from Joust 2 is "Careful, warrior," as you're about to die. Careful, warrior.
Yeah.
But that's
there's some great stuff there. I was talking to Python Angela at one point about the sound, and Python's a character, and of course he passed away from brain cancer, and my wife and I kind of adopted, and he would tell me stories when I would go up to Chicago to make sure he was doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me a story about the sound when your mount runs and then you stop, it makes a screeching sound.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it's the screeching sound from bringing a 1981 Firebird to a stop. Now, I'm telling you what Python told me. Now, we will take that all with a grain of salt, what the actual sound is, but that's what Python said.
Just to let our listeners know, some of them might not know who Python Angelo is, but awesome artist, and did a lot of work for Williams, Joust, Bubbles, Sinistar, Star Raider, and his pinball projects.
Taxi.
Yeah, and his pinball, Taxi, Fishtails, Hurricane, Police Force, Jokers, Cyclone, which is a favorite among pinball collectors that I know. Pinbot, he did the art for that. High Speed. So, I mean, just, game after game. Bubbles is also a revered game these days. People are always looking for that game.
Yep.
But
I had a Pinbot in my pinball collection and sold it so I could buy a Taxi, because I've got 10 or 11 pinball machines and then 7 or 8 video games. So I kind of have limited space, and I was like, I kind of want a Taxi, because Taxi reminds me more of Python. Even the guy driving the Taxi looks like Python.
Yeah.
And when you start playing and you listen to the sounds and how busy it is, it just reminds me of him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did he do your T-shirts, or
No, the T-shirt that you have is done by Stephen Orlando.
Okay.
And I kept looking for a Joust T-shirt that wasn't quite just the normal Williams T-shirt, and I had seen that one at some point, and I kept trying to buy one so that I could have one, and never could find one. So I tracked him down, and it was Robit Studios, and I told him who I was and what I was trying to do, and he goes, Steve Sanders? He goes, I'll just give you the rights so you can print them, but you can't sell them. Oh. So Stephen gave me the rights to print those shirts as long as Sanders and I would wear one at the event when we did went for the doubles world record, and
cool.
I told him I would give them out to people and sign them, and so that's been a really unique thing that I've been able to give out to people.
Are they all still red, or did you kind of alluded to they might not be?
No, I stopped doing it after Site 100.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh.
So
there are only probably 60 of them out there, 60 or 70 of them out there.
Sweet. Well, thank you very much
and
for
the last 10 or 15 of them are all. What are you, 84?
Yep.
So maybe the last 20 are red.
Okay.
Yeah, the last 20 are red.
Sweet. I appreciate the rare gift. So.
It's my pleasure.
I had such a good time. I mean, we, I wish I could have hung out with you longer. But you kind of, working at the same time, and you say at the time you were doing all these traveling around for, your I don't know, seminars and such. And but what's your day job entail anyway?
Well, I own a carpet and upholstery cleaning company and leather cleaning company, and I used to teach a lot of leather cleaning courses across the United States to professional cleaners, carpet and upholstery cleaners. And I also serve on the board of directors of a couple nonprofits, one in the cleaning and restoration industry and the other in management industry. And so I had the ability to put a pin down and say, I could travel within a couple 100 miles of this. I would guess I was probably either up there teaching a course in Minneapolis, or I made a trip through Minneapolis on the way to go someplace.
Yeah.
And there was a couple trips that I took, or more than one trip that I've taken, just to press towards certain numbers. I know when I was getting close to 100, I took a couple trips to, one of them I played 100. I played 14 machines in 14 days and drove 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it was play a machine, drive as far as you can, play a machine. I think I got to play 2 in one day once, so they gave you a little bit of rest. But that's a brutal kind of trip. That's like East Coast. That's like Kansas City to the East Coast, down to Florida, east kind of and back. So there's some pretty hefty trips in there.
It's interesting. Now that you say that, I'm remembering you might have been in Minneapolis a couple of days, because I think you went to Insert Coin, which was new at the time.
I played Insert Coin.
Yeah,
you're correct.
And their machine wasn't as good. You had to play on the second player because the first player was broken, if I recall.
Yeah. I find that a lot. Player one just gets really, really abused, and people don't take care of it, don't know how to take care of it. But then you get to player two, and it's hardly ever played. And so those can be pristine. And, of course, I played the doubles record with Steve from player two. I probably played, of the 150 machines and 50-plus machines I played, I probably played 20 of them from player two.
Wow. Yeah. So they were just that bad on player one that you just put in the quarter, let it die, and then go to the second one.
Yeah, exactly. And the other things people watch, and I play with a pair of old bike gloves, and one of the arcade guys used to say, "Oh, you do that because you saw me do that in one of the films." I was like,
"Was that Alpigger?"
I don't think I've ever even seen that. Yeah, I don't even think I've ever. I hadn't even seen the film at that point.
Yeah.
What happened is I was playing at I think it was Barcade at Williamsburg, New York, and the control panel was all, as you know, where the control panel Lexan rolls down over the edge. That's not really smooth underneath there, and then over a period of time, your sweat destabilizes the plasticizers in that material, and then it just cracks. And there's it's very cracked up, and I cut my hand.
Oh.
And we actually put box tape on it so I could finish. And so I said, I'm not going to ever run into that. Plus, you're putting your hands on Lexan. The first natural thing to do when you put your hand on plastic is for it to sweat. So I decided to wear an old pair of bike gloves to protect me from both those things, and I just happened to have a nice old pair that has this thick gel pad in it, and you can put your hand down and even rest it a little bit, and they just worked out really, really well for me to play in those things. Yeah,
here's a clip of Mark Alpigger from the outtake of King of Con that didn't make it into the movie.
Oh yeah, I noticed that earlier, and I've noticed that I didn't mention it to you guys. This is actually technically a weightlifting glove, because I discovered in the 80s that you could buy a weightlifting glove which was fingerless, and I used it to play Marble Madness. See the double padding? The guys that played marble, they used to call it a marble hand. You would get calluses, you would get pinches, you would get bruising from the pinches that would get it. And so I said, this is nuts. I'm going to get a glove and protect my hand when I played marble.
He goes on to talk about how he calls the games by their first names too, but that's a clip of him. So you met him and he was like, "You got that from me?"
Well, I've talked to Mark over the years. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to meet a lot of guys, and people love guys and hate guys, and I'm like, look, I'm just here to play the game. I don't care what your political beliefs or your religious beliefs are.
Sure.
Does your joust work?
Right, exactly.
If your joust works, you and I are on good terms.
Well, and they, we talk about this every time we bring up this movie, but they treated these guys so bad, they made their characters to be, everybody's a character. But they amplified it and took the parts that they thought were most, and then they throw them into the movie or put them in outtakes, and everybody makes fun. But we met Brian Koo, and I've never met Mark, but we've met Walter, we've met Billy, and met you, and every single person is a super nice guy. Every single one, Steve Wiebe, and I just I think it's great that you get to do this circuit and meet all these guys that have been in and out of all these different circuits for movies and game competitions, and it's just got to be fascinating.
Well, I'm in one of the movies, right?
Which movie?
Video Craze. And if you can catch where I'm at in Video Craze, you've got it on pause. And you're going frame by frame.
Oh! Yeah, I actually have not seen that one.
I have not either. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's me playing Joust. I'm playing myself playing Joust, and it's just a short, brief shot.
Yeah, it was released in 2013.
I'm famous in my own mind because I'm in Video Craze, which I thought was a pretty good movie.
Okay, cool. Yeah, looks like you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. So
maybe, yeah.
But yeah,
and Dan's the guy who made it is a nice young guy too.
Yeah, and he was actually his came out before Knuckles, right? When did Knuckles release his?
Yeah, it came out before his.
Yeah.
I don't know. King of Arcades.
Yeah. So that's
I was at Richie's place December 31st, 2011. He was the 24th machine that I rolled over, and that was the night that they were closing down his arcade.
Oh.
The first time. They closed it down. Now he's since, of course, opened back up, but that was the closing of Richie Knuckles Arcade.
So bittersweet moment, and then obviously, good ending to that story. And now he hosts the Kong Off, right?
Yep.
Which is a pretty big event. I would love to go to that. We're gonna try to do Grinkers this year as a team. Do you ever go to any of these things just to hang out and play the games now, or?
No, not really. I mean, it's so. It's. People expect me to be very, very good at every single game. Mm-hmm. And I kind of have this rule. I don't like to play games that I'm not really, really good at in front of people.
Well, Billy Mitchell has the same rule. I think it's a common...
Yeah. It's like, why would I want to play a game that I'm not good at? Well, it'd be Lonnie McDonald playing Donkey Kong. I could probably count the amount of times I played Donkey Kong on two hands.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. It never had an appeal to me. I probably played more Popeye than I did Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
which basically is the same mechanism. But why would I want to sit and play Donkey Kong with somebody who scores 700,000 points when I probably am going to get to level 3? I've never. On the other hand, I enjoy watching people who are really, really good at their craft and their game.
Yeah,
I would rather do that than play.
So, do you actually have any other records besides Joust records?
They're just all Joust related. I've never turned, and there's some scores that I have that aren't turned in because they're not the number one scores.
Okay.
Which at one point I scored 99.9 million points on Joust on a Joust marathon, which probably should be third or fourth. I never turned it in because I was disappointed it wasn't number one. It's why would you? What difference does it make? I mean, I just scored almost 90 million points this weekend. Well, it's not number one, so it'll never get turned in.
Sure. So Dave from Buffalo says, does Lonnie own a pair of ostrich boots?
No, I don't.
He's also asking which ostrich Lonnie eat.
Nope. No, I haven't eaten them. But interestingly enough, though, my wife used to take painting lessons from a lady who owned an ostrich farm.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've actually had ostrich pizza, where it's a good substitute for hamburger. It's very lean. It tastes a lot like hamburger.
Yeah.
I've had ostrich burgers. But Lonnie has not done that.
I am looking for a place to go ride an ostrich, though. I thought that'd be fun. Because you can ride them.
Wow, they're big. They're a big bird, aren't they?
And they're not nice either.
Yeah.
Robin's friend who owned that ostrich farm said those things will spit and bite you and chase you, and they're not very kind birds. So yeah, you got to be careful.
I don't remember how they came up with the idea that you'd be jousting on an ostrich.
Because the flight mechanisms is more believable for that they would fly than some of the other birds they looked at.
Because of the shape of the bird. Yeah.
Right.
Like an eagle.
Right. And to be able, and they had to be able to carry a man.
Right.
Right.
Didn't Ralph Bakshi make a movie with ostriches that people rode?
I don't know. Don't know.
I don't watch bad movies, so
you don't watch bad movies.
No, we have a lot of interesting stuff. Interviews with the developers at Joustmaster.com. We have the trackers for the machines, the ones I played, the ones I haven't played, cocktails, pinball machines, Joust 2. We keep adding to that daily. Eventually, you'll be able to add to list yourself, but there's records and accolades, Joust for sale on eBay, galleries, and timeline of the first 100 machines that I played. And we tried to make it not just about me, but a place where we could accumulate any Joust information that was out there to save it for arcade players to view in the future.
That's cool, yeah. So I
don't know if that's so the movie that he was talking about is called Wizards.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's an ostrich.
No, and it's funny because I posted the exact same link just after you did. Yeah, it's a weird looking, but it looks kind of like Joust, doesn't it? So, I mean, it's weird. But he did a... Yeah, and I don't know if you guys ever... In the 70s, they released Lord of the Rings. And I'm not talking about the crappy little bass and
How dare you?
I'm talking about the one that Bakshi made that I think...
That was terrible? The bad one?
No. No, actually. It's really good, and I think actually Jackson probably stole a lot from it. Or they just had very similar visions of it. But it's a fantastic movie, and unfortunately it ends like right as they're about to go towards Mount Doom, and they never made a sequel. So luckily they, Peter Jackson was hired and made a good set of films. But anyway, Ralph Bakshi, Wizards, check it out. The image is pretty funny. So, any more questions from the audience?
I think we've got it.
That's it, huh? Well,
ostrich eggs. I think we got it. Yep.
Well, Mr. Lon McDonald, I want to thank you again for being on the Arcade Radio podcast this week. We appreciate it very much.
Oh, it was my pleasure. In a couple of weeks, I'll be down at Let's Play Gaming Expo in Texas, and I'll play a couple games there, one cocktail, one upright, and then Free Play Arlington.
Okay.
And then Cider something. So I'll be playing 4 games down there next week. Oh, well, what is it? 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is.
Any chance of you going to Grinkers this year?
Nope. Although I was at Grinkers when it was still concrete, and they were running a little bit behind opening, okay. And we played that game, and it had a little meltdown, and then they fixed it right before the TV crew came.
Okay.
All right. That was an interesting site. Big site now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
So tell us your website so people can go and check out the list.
Yeah.
So it's Lonnie. Is it LonnieMcDonald.com?
Nope, Joustmaster.com.
Joustmaster.com, and then you can look at the registry for games that are on your list to play and games that you've already played.
Yep, and the interesting thing, we have games on there that I'm not going to be able to play because people don't want you to come and play their game. And I completely understand that. That's fine. And I have those tagged in my list. Like we won't be able to play that game, but we want to make sure that we're keeping track of these old pieces of history.
Yeah.
Because I do restorations also, and the last restoration I did was the one before this one was 1976 Williams Grand Prix, which won an award at the Texas Pinball Festival. And the last one we just finished was Tales of the Arabian Night Pinball, which I restored for my wife, and it's downstairs too. So
Good job.
My machines, if I buy one, will eventually become restored, and I only have so much space.
Okay,
I like bringing them back to life and making them like new.
Yeah. Well, before you go, maybe as the outro here, let's have you give us a list of what you got in your collection.
Collection. Let's start with pinball machines. I've got Twilight Zone, which was a home use only. Then Tales of the Arabian Nights, which we just finished the restoration on. Taxi, Black Pyramid, Star Trek from 1978, which we did a restoration on.
I love that game.
That was that's the Bali version. Great version with the updated playfield that actually you light up the nacelles.
Nice.
And then Star Trek from the next generation.
Yeah.
Which is completely restored. Then upstairs we have Target Alpha, Surf Champ,
lots of pins.
Grand Prix, which we restored. Then I'm working on our current restoration is 1967 Williams Pitch and Bat. That's the pinball machines. I have an X Arcade upstairs with, as we talked about, the normal stuff plus 2 PlayStations, GameCube, and Xbox in it. We've got it all stuffed in there with switching boxes. I have Black Tiger. I have which is completely restored. A Gorf that's restored. I have Joust 2 prototype, which is in pristine condition. My Joust, a Joust cocktail, and a Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of 81 cocktail, which had 200 plays on it when I got it.
Nice. So it's almost Huo.
That's my collection. And if you look at the downstairs, I have all sorts of Joust stuff on the walls, including the original Joust artwork signed by Python Angelo.
Oh, cool.
A copy of the storyboard. All sorts of Joust memorabilia downstairs and arcade memorabilia downstairs. So it's a nice setup downstairs.
Sweet. Well, again, thanks for being on the show. This has been the Arcade Radio podcast. This is the part where we dance. You can follow us on YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes or Google Play. That's Arcade Radio, RCADE Radio. And we even have a website, arcaderadio.com. So email us, react@arcaderadio.com, or, tune in 2 weeks from now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pleasure, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thank you.
And we'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, we'll have you on when you hit 60 hours and 250 games.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, man. All right, guys. Have a nice evening.
You too.